Hey, it's Monday morning. Let's open up the mailbag.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, but the best way to get a hold of me is right here on YouTube. Just comment, subscribe, like, tell your friends, tell your families, tell your enemies. Just tell them to watch the show. And if you are someone who wants to make posts on all the social medias that we've got, make sure to put that hashtag everyday Sully on there. It helps us find your comments. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So here's what we're going to do today. We are going to be doing, a bunch of people have written in about some of the episodes I've done over the last couple of weeks. And as these comments and everything are piling up, I think I'm going to open up the mailbag and let us go through some of the comments that I've been getting. They're just way too long to put in the banner. So I'm just going to read some of the questions we've been getting. But we got a bunch of responses from the episode that I did while I was wearing my California State University Fullerton graduation cap, gown, hood, all that stuff that I had. I graduated from Cal State Fullerton on the 19th day of May, got my master's degree. Thank you very much. And by the way, a lot of people wrote some nice things to me about getting my master's. So thank you. I appreciate that. On May 21st, I dropped an episode about college baseball. And in the show that I did from Fullerton, I openly asked some of the questions of why isn't college baseball bigger? And I had some ideas. Some of the thoughts I had to do with the fact that the season, when the season ends, I thought there was also a lack of connection between the players in college baseball and the players that want to play Major League Baseball. It isn't that direct connection that you see from college basketball goes right to the NBA, college football going right into the NFL, and to a lesser degree, college hockey going into the NHL. But I also felt that maybe college baseball could get a little bit of a boost. Really leaned into gambling. I know that may sound hypocritical on the wake of all the Pete Rose White Sox, the 1919 White Sox being reinstated and everything like that. But gambling is one of the main reasons. I know some people, and as I said, a lot of people I know who are big time college basketball, college football fans, this fact, but gambling is a huge reason why college football is so huge, and the brackets are the reason why college basketball is so huge. I have some people like Quinn Thomas 5805 says it's big here in the South. Yes, and it has a big regional following, especially in places where they don't have a major league team. But yeah, college baseball does have its fans. It's not like the chess team where I'm talking about the exposure. I'm just saying it doesn't have the frenzy of attention that football and basketball have. But here's some of the questions. Here's some of the responses that I liked. There was one where is the one I was gonna? Here it is. A season ticket holder since the 1970s. This is from Sam 53 Morgan. The answer is simple. What answer is simple? Seasons need to end when school ends, so it's the end of May. Stretched out another month for playoffs. Minor League Baseball would hate to have college loyalty in another small town. Farm League fans, Minor League Baseball castrates fan interest. That's what caught my interest. because of their own needed travel schedule. And college fans can see up to 4 or 5 games a week. When minor league gets 3 on a good week, teams will be out of town 1, 2, even 3 weeks in a row. Local fans drift off and discover other things to do during summer evenings. Um, I'm not 100% sure, Sam 53 Morgan. I agree with everything you say there. I'm not sure how much college baseball and college and minor league baseball are clashing. I'm gonna have to look more into that. But I do agree with you. The fact that the season ends in May, when people aren't thinking playoff baseball, they're thinking playoff basketball at that point. I think the fact that the it doesn't stretch out over the summer. Baseball is a summer sport, and you can't have a season of college baseball starting in September. I mean, you really can't do that. I mean, you have January, February, March, April, May. You basically have 5.5 months of college baseball going on from practice on, and you really can't do the same thing and have them play in the fall. So, yeah, I think that's more of a that's I agree with that more than the minor league baseball thing. Um, and, Stephen B. Knox Fills says, I faded in and out of following college baseball over the years. My Red Sox fans thought I was a genius when I told them to get excited about Pedroia. Not a genius, watch some ASU ball. To your point, I think the timing issue. I grew up in Philadelphia where weather is a powerhouse and schools in warm places generally kept it from getting bigger. Yeah, I think that's a huge reason. The weather. You're only going to get it, as it was said before, as Quinn Thomas says, it's big in the South because you're playing baseball in January, February, and March. Try doing that in Minnesota. Try doing that in New England. Now, football is meant to be played in cold weather, and basketball is played indoors. So I think the weather has no small part to do with it. By the way, Papa Palps 84 says, as a UK fan, I've dabbled in trying to watch college baseball, and I really enjoy it. Yeah, when you watch college baseball, it's fun. Even the ping of the bat, it's a little strange. It always astounds me how well universities fund sports in the United States. Nothing like that here in the UK. And that's something that American fans have to understand, that this whole thing of big money in college sports is really an American thing. It's big time an American thing. To have something like those 100,000 seat stadiums in was in Ohio State, was I forget which is the biggest college football stadium, but even here in Pasadena, having the Rose Bowl be gigantic, or having in cities where there isn't a major sports team. But I remember going to Alabama when I used to perform in Alabama and just being overwhelmed by the size of the stadiums in Tuscaloosa and in Auburn. And you could easily have a NFL team play in some of those places. And of course, when you start to see some of the other parts of a university trying to make ends meet, and then they look up and it appears that the football and the basketball team have a blank check. Yeah, that's also an American thing. You're getting in trouble funding cancer research, but don't worry, the football team has brand new locker rooms. I'm not getting political. I'm just saying that's an American thing. But, I think I do stand by that if you had the bracket for baseball, you will get at least more eyeballs on there. And I do think you need to have a draft immediately after the College Baseball World Series. It's a special draft. It's not the main draft, but it's a College Baseball World Series draft. I think that would probably make a little bit of a difference. But thank you for writing in. And when we come back, I got a couple of more people wrote on other topics that are really worth bringing up. Get all the supplies you need from the site that's made for skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from more than 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trademaster program at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. I did an episode on May 20th where I talked about the Savannah Bananas game in Nashville and how they were playing in Nissan Stadium. And that while the configuration of the stadium was not conducive for baseball, I thought that if the Titans are getting a brand new football stadium, don't tear down the entire Nissan Stadium. It could be repurposed, at least temporarily, for baseball, as we have two teams, the Rays, who may or may not be getting a repaired Tropicana for next year, and the A's, who knows what the hell is happening with them, opening up Nashville, which is, in my humble opinion, the single best baseball market that currently doesn't have a Major League Baseball team. I think Major League Baseball would be a massive success in Nashville, and I think they have the exact type of fans that would be a big success there. Well, Peter McZip9011 writes, I've been pitching Nissan Stadium for a while too. No one ever replies to me on the pros and cons of it. I'm for it. So good luck on feedback, and I hope they get the A's and Rays settled soon for MLB expansion. Well, I'm replying to what you're saying because I agree with you. Baseball wants to expand, and there are a lot of really good markets, better markets, in my humble opinion, than Las Vegas. The biggest market is clearly Nashville. I think Charlotte could be a good market. I think Austin would be a good market. I think Portland could work. I think Vancouver could work. Montreal could work, possibly. I would love, obviously, I mean, look at the shirt I'm wearing. I would love to see the return of the Montreal Expos. But I know that is a long shot. Anyway, I do want to say this. If the Rays do move to Orlando, I would like to see them be redubbed the Dreamers. If the A's ever move to Las Vegas, and I am still in I'll believe it when I see it mode. I'll believe it when I see that stadium being built mode. Then I hope I would want them to change their name to the Aviators or to the Aces or something like that. When a team moves and gets a brand new identity when it lands, for some reason it feels less egregious. It feels less harsh. It doesn't feel like you've stolen an identity. You don't really connect the Baltimore Orioles with the St. Louis Browns. You do in a historic level, but it's not the Baltimore Browns, and they have a brand new identity when they're there. It's like when the Cleveland Browns moved and they became the Baltimore Ravens. First of all, that allowed for when they expanded back into Cleveland, Cleveland could rename themselves the Browns. I don't understand why the new team in Houston, the NFL team in Houston, weren't redubbed the Oilers. No one's ever been able to explain that to me, but I digress. When you keep the name, like the Dodgers, like the Giants, like the A's, like the Braves, it sort of leaves a bad taste in your mouth even when you see them play. And for the new city, it feels like a brand new identity. It may be superficial. I know a lot of people I'm a native of Connecticut, and I know several people who grew up in central Connecticut who were very, very bitter when the Hartford Whalers became the Carolina Hurricanes. And they are mad at the existence of the Hurricanes. But for most people, it feels like a real separation. Hockey has like the Colorado Avalanche used to be the Quebec Nordiques. It feels less like an affront. And also you have situations where the new team name doesn't make any sense. There are no lakes here in Los Angeles. Why are they the Lakers? Because they used to be Minneapolis. There are no trolleys in Los Angeles. The people in Brooklyn used to have to dodge the trolleys to get to Ebbets Field. That's why they're called the Dodgers. We don't have reliable public transportation. Utah Jazz. Enough said. By the way, now that I've mentioned this before, I really think they should have done this with the names in basketball. Because the Jazz used to be the New Orleans Jazz. That makes all the sense in the world. And now they have a team in New Orleans called the Pelicans. They were used to be called the Hornets, but the Hornets were a team in Charlotte, and the expansion Bobcats were rechristened the Hornets. Are you following me? And there was an expansion team called the Raptors. Here's what I think they should have done. The new team in New Orleans, they're the Jazz. The team in Utah, they're the Utah Raptors. Why are they the Utah Raptors? That's an actual species of dinosaur, a Utah Raptor. How badass is that? The Charlotte team gets to call themselves the Hornets, and then the Bobcat name, which is pretty generic, you throw that to Toronto. Anyway, I digress. Change the name when you move. Change the name when you move, but you got to do something soon. You need to have something really, really concrete soon. And that brings us to Big John 08865, who's an everyday Sully. Sorry, I don't have them projected up here, but these responses were too big for the banner. Sooner than later, Manfred the Man Earth Band, I get that joke, needs to tell the Rays either blank or get off the toilet. I'm trying to keep this from getting an explicit rating. Make a decision. Sell the team or don't sell the team. Agree to build a new stadium or seek a new or existing stadium elsewhere. Yeah, you have to make a decision. This is part of if Manfred's going to be accepting the check of being the commissioner of baseball, it's time to pull the trigger on this. It's time to pull the ripcord on this. And because we can't have this going on forever. And you have to make a hard decision here because you can't have this going. And teams have been forced to sell in the past. The Dodgers were forced to sell when the McCourts were doing everything to basically treating the team as their own personal ATM. I will never understand why the McCourts had to sell, but the Fishers don't. That makes zero sense to me. What the Fishers did with the A's is, in some ways, worse than what the McCourts did to the Dodgers. And they've run the team into the ground. I bet if we open up enough folders, we'll find fraud. And they're now sitting in perpetuity in Sacramento while a pretend stadium is being talked about in Las Vegas. Sell the team to somebody. Now, I do think the ship has sailed for Oakland, as sad as that is. But is there some reason, like whenever you see like there's the World Cup is being held somewhere, and like all these stadiums pop up immediately. Okay, I understand one reason. Some of the countries where they're popping up in don't have some of the union rules that we have here, which we should have here. I'm a proud union man. We should have work protection. We should have, protective of our pay, protective of our safety, and everything like that. But I've also seen module stadiums being put together, it looks like relatively quickly. Is there some reason why, let's say Sacramento, picking a city at random, or Tampa, picking another city at random, you couldn't have some sort of modular situation for 35,000 fans, or add some sort of modular thing with a temporary upper deck and seats out in left and center field in Sacramento to expand that capacity to 30,000? So when they're playing a game there, it doesn't feel like you're playing in a AAA ballpark because you're playing in a AAA ballpark. Is there some reason when I see like the baseball being played in London or some other place where they don't have a ready-made baseball stadium, that they're able to put it together in a way that can kind of sort of work? I know, as I said before, the New Orleans Superdome has been reconfigured to no longer have baseball in there. Well, can they reconfigure it back to, I don't know, have a team play there until they build a baseball-only stadium? These are the sort of things that the commissioner is supposed to do other than threaten a strike or a lockout or whatever. Now, I've said that before. People have asked me a bunch about what do I think of a pending lockout. I think it's ridiculous because it's not about the owners versus the players. It's about the owners versus the owners. So why should you lock the players out when this is an internal struggle of what's going on? But the commissioner has to, crap or get off the pot. I changed it to crap. And make some of the hard decisions. Yeah, they're hard. But when you get a check that has 2 commas in it, do you what? Sometimes you gotta earn that. Hey, did you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and subscriptions you forgot about, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized there was a lot of subscriptions I didn't realize I was still paying for. And I checked out the deliveries I was having and some of the other things I was subscribing to and paying for. Now I budget smarter and I save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, I can use Monarch to check my finances, track spending, even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner or spouse, that's smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. I'm going to wrap up today's show by reminding you of the existence of this book, Cobra, by Dave Parker and Dave Jordan. Dave Jordan's a friend of the podcast. He's been a guest on the show several times. And it is about the great Dave Parker, and it's a life of baseball and brotherhood. And Dave Parker's life has had extraordinary highs and heartbreaking lows, and he's right behind me on my wall back there with Jim Rice, where he was the most valuable player in the National League in 1978, multiple batting champions, power, one of the best arms you'll ever see, speed. Multiple World Series championships, many All-Star many times over, and went through some dark times of addiction and battling health issues. And thank goodness he made it to the Hall of Fame. I've been advocating, and you can go back and look at my old blog. I've been saying since the late 2000s, early 2010s that Dave Parker was a Hall of Famer, absolutely a Hall of Famer. And thankfully, the last Veterans Committee did what should have happened a long, long time ago, and put Dave Parker in the Hall of Fame. And we will see his induction later this year. It's his birthday today. We still have the Cobra. We still have one of the coolest players, one of the most intimidating players, and in so many ways, one of the funniest players in baseball history. And we haven't, as we know, his health has been declining. And I am a big, big enemy of putting in Hall of Famers posthumously. Not when it's a situation like Lou Gehrig or Roy Halladay or Roberto Clemente, where they had an untimely death. But when we know someone is a Hall of Famer and they go on the ballots over and over and over again, and then you wait for them to die. We had one of those, Dick Allen is going to the Hall of Fame posthumously. He wasn't voted in by the voters. Okay, he had a contentious relationship with the writers, but he missed a Hall of Fame vote by the Veterans Committee when he was still alive by a single vote, and then he was let in. Ron Santo, the same thing. Buck O'Neill, the same thing. Minnie Minoso, the same thing. They didn't get better over the years, and it wasn't like it's not like it's some historical committee where they're examining the careers of like Negro League players who were not whose deeds were not well known. So thankfully, when we celebrate Dave Parker, and there'll be many, many people there singing "We Are Family" and wearing the black and gold for the Pirates. I'm sure there'll be Cincinnati fans there because he had several outstanding years in Cincinnati. I'm sure there'll be Oakland fans there. He picked up a World Series ring for his troubles in Oakland. There'll be Milwaukee fans there. He had his last great season with Milwaukee and later played with California and with Toronto Blue Jays as well. I think that was all the teams he played for. But check this book out, Cobra, by Dave Parker and friend of the podcast, Dave Jordan. And let's celebrate him. Let's celebrate someone who had overcame adversity off the field, some self-inflicted, some not. We all have made mistakes in our lives, and we all have found ways to try to better ourselves. And sometimes those stories are some of the best to hear about. And on the field, man, he was one of the best in the game. In fact, this baseball preview there that I have the cover of Sports Illustrated. That's the baseball preview for 1978, and it says who's best, and it has Jim Rice and Dave Parker kind of back to back, and Jim Rice has kind of a look like he's wondering, and Dave Parker's holding his finger up, number one. They were both the defending. Jim Rice was the defending American League MVP, and Parker was the defending National League MVP going into the 1979 season. So thankfully, we are going to have Hall of Famer Dave Parker is going to be joining Hall of Famer Jim Rice at Cooperstown this year. And thankfully, he'll be alive to celebrate it. So I want to thank you all for making Locked On MLB your first listen. Now, for your second listen, do what you should do. You should stay right here on the Locked On MLB channel, and you should enjoy the latest episode of Locked On MLB Game Night. And I'll tell you what it is. They are some of the experts from some of the Locked On shows of the Major League Baseball teams, and Locked On MLB Game Night is where you get every game, every night, all season long. You get local analysis on a national scale, and you can watch it right here on the Locked On MLB feed. Talking about NCAA baseball, about doing something or get off the pot, and saluting the great Dave Parker on his birthday. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.